what the pendant does is through harmonic resonance, it releases past trauma and past stressors that have impacted you negatively, that are really impacted your vibrational blueprint. So it's kind of resetting, rebooting your computer, getting back into harmony, back into balance.
Yes, it's going to be one of the shows. We're going to be dealing with that. We're going to be also getting into nutritional consulting. We're also getting into working with energy medicine. Also, the pendants right here. You're going to see this right here. This is cool. I have my questions and doubts on these different things. So I'm going to, and I have a pendant on me too. It's different than this. So I'm really.
I have a question on what those circles mean, because that's.
Well, I think it's all part of the harmonious vibration, allowing different sounds like tuning forks. It's like it allows it to have a certain signature, but we'll get into that. But so I'm going to be questioning our guest today, Robert Marking, on how it actually works. And as you listen to the intro, that's what it was about.
But
before we do that, we have a few things to go over.
Yeah.
Don't we, Jesse? Well, first thing I want to say is we got coming up here, and I have to say thank you to Jesse Till, who's the radio producer back here making things happen. We're going to be rebroadcasting shows for the Christmas break and New Year's break, and but good news is this. We are going to be going 24 hours. I don't think he even knows this. 24 hours a day for that period, and not only utilizing all our shows, but also we're all our other syndications shows that we're going to be working with. We're going to be playing their shows along with ours. So you're going to have an opportunity for anytime you want. If you get bored, or if you you get
if you want to be educated during the break.
During the break, yeah.
This is the way to go.
If you get tired of too much spices and wine, you want to really get yourself high on information and data, then you could tune in on the UI Radio Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for those weeks that we're rebroadcasting, and have the most incredible show, like Dr. Karen Can's show, which is brilliant. The Angel Heart Radio, and look, we're trying to get Robert Scott Bell, and I think maybe even Dermot on there. Lillian Dermot, we'll try to get on. So we have a bunch of people and bunch of information, as well as if you want to check it out, go to your app store and download UI Radio Network, right? UI Radio Network.
Yep.
And then also, biggest thing I'd say is for our WDJY listeners who are listening right now, 99.1. Welcome, guys. We appreciate you all around the country now. Listen to live radio FM, which I don't think usually happens that much. Usually have like cutoff switch. So this is like new. Internet is so powerful these days that now FM's like, hey, we want a piece of that action, you know? Well, good. Welcome. About time, huh? There we go. So, and anyway, if you guys want, go on to our site, unitedintentions.org, for all you 99.1 listeners, unitedintentions.org, and create an account. Create an account. It's free. We're a 501c. We're a foundation. It's free for you to learn how to track and manifest your intentions, one intention at a time. We use the Dr. Joe Dispenza principles of repetition and expectancy and meaning, and it's all about creating that state of being. And we're going to be talking to a guy who knows how to create a state of being here in a second. So please go to unitedintentions.org and make it happen. You'll enjoy it. You'll meet a whole community of positive, high vibrational, positive people who are trying to make a difference in their life, one intention at a time. Okay, let me tell you about our guest today. Robert Marking is a 55-year-old young man. He is, and has been. Trust me, when you get into your 50s, you know that's a young man, right? When been nutritional consultant for the 27 years, working with athletes, world champions, and clients in areas of energy medicine, anti-aging, and sports performance, weight management, which everybody loves a good workout, right? Weight management, internal cleaning, and detoxification. Also, he also does, he's began incorporating applied kinesiology in his practice to help detect hidden food allergies and sensitivities. I always thought that was just like, that's kind of silly. But the more I got into it, I'm like, wow. And we're going to go through a list of them today and why they're so important.
Yeah, please.
Because inflammation is the issue, and then low grade infection is why inflammation is an issue, and then all these other things are we're going to get into what causes that and how bring it to awareness here. He also invented right here the Pure Harmony pendant. Right there, if you guys can't see it there. For our radio listeners, it's this cool looking like a dog tag.
It's
right?
a dog tag with circles inside of it.
Holes,
that apparently are good for frequencies. That's my question.
We're gonna get deep into the science of it, man. All right.
I'm looking
All
forward
right.
to it.
So, and also the pendants are, Robert's like, he's like, yeah, man, bring it on, bring it on. And energy field performance, it helps its energy brain function, protects the body from EMFs as well. It's like a double whammy there, right?
Yeah.
And much more. Robert Mark, you can reach him at pureharmonyliving.com, pureharmonyliving.com. Robert, welcome to the Good Intention Show.
Hey, Tim. Hey, Jesse. This is awesome. Thanks for having me on the show this morning.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, you were at the Doctors Who Rock Awards, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was off the hook. I enjoyed that week so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you guys and be part of it.
Yeah, listen, I was impressed. Even I was one who helped bring it together, and I was like, wow, I didn't know what to expect. Seriously, and you talk about having all the top docs in the world there, really, in integrative medicine. And I opened up I don't know if you were on, but I opened up the show with, that's less than 1% of the doctors right now in the world are less than 1% of integrated doctors.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind blowing, and it's pretty much the only way to go. I mean, instead of treating the symptoms like most allopathic medicine docs do, getting right to the root of the root core, the genesis of the problem is where we've got to go with disease and illness for sure. So I'm on board.
Yeah, and the work that you're doing too, and as a researching you, wow, so impressive, and not to even be a doctor, but you know what? The definition of doctor is what? Teacher, right? And you're sure a teacher, right? So I think people need to realize that, and it brings me back to the old days when I know certain certified. I'm in the senior home care business as well, and I know certain certified nursing assistants, Dreama, that know more than RNs who've been around for 30 years, and I would go to her to heal than I would an RN, any day of the week. Just that, it's just. She has spent the time and she's knowledgeable and she has a certain intuition and it's a frequency issue too. And speaking of frequencies, Robert, let's talk about that. I have so many other questions. I want to get into your healing practice. I want to get into everything that with mold and disease and Lyme and all that. But I want to first jump right into this if we could, because this right now, I consider a couple of the main concerns that we have to deal with today in today's Luciferian environment of weeding down population is through EMFs, through the toxins. I mean, the heavy metals now in the air mixed in with good radiation. Boy, that's a nice little cocktail for disaster. And you have all these main things. And then of course the whole routine, the Lyme diseases and the food processes and all that stuff.
Right.
But the EMFs is such a big issue because cell towers are jumping up everywhere. George just went 5G. And you're saying that this little metal thing in my hand could actually help protect you from the EMFs as well as harmonize your electromagnetic frequency of yourself that we are expelling every day, that we show and share with everyone else.
Absolutely. We all resonate at a resonant frequency, a core vibrational blueprint. And there's disharmonious vibrations and frequencies in the environment which are visible and invisible, and there's harmonious. And what the pendant does is through harmonic resonance, it releases past trauma and past stressors that have impacted you negatively, that are really impacted your vibrational blueprint. So it's kind of resetting, rebooting your computer, getting back into harmony, back into balance. But what's cool about the pendant is what we've been seeing with over, 350, 400 people that we've worked on, that I've worked on personally, is that it doesn't block EMF. It actually takes harmful EMF frequencies and converts it into harmonious energy for the body. So your cell phone you hold a cell phone, one will make you stronger, hold two actually make you even more strong. So it's really cool. It's a converter more than a blocker is what it does.
Now that is incredible. I'm sure you could share some evidence to support that here in a second, or at least some circumstantial evidence at this point, because I think electromagnetic frequencies is not such a new science, but it's a new science to the Western world, because we're forcing it into our medical model as we speak, because that's just part of who we are. We're made up of electromagnetic energy. So we should have been dealing with this a long time ago. But before we go there, you mentioned earlier about releasing certain emotional traumatic issues in the body. So what are you trying to say is when you have an emotional traumatic issue, whatever it may be, from birth to where we are today, this information gets stored somewhere in the body?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to look at stressors and trauma. A lot of people, when people think of stressors and trauma, they think of emotional stress and trauma, but there's different categories of stressors and trauma that we are exposed to. There's physical trauma, which is maybe a car accident, a surgery, or a burn. Blunt trauma in athletics. We have trauma all the time. That's physical trauma. You have chemical trauma. You mentioned earlier, Tim, about toxins. We had heavy metals. We have infections, chronic infections like Lyme and mold. We have Epstein-Barr and viruses. We have food sensitivities, chemical sensitivities. So we have vaccines is another chemical trauma. Then we have emotional trauma. Obviously we all grow up. We have emotional trauma from the time we're a baby till right now. And then we also have electromagnetic trauma from Wi-Fi, from cell phones, from laptops, from smart meters. Then we have a category called spiritual trauma. We got to take that into consideration as holistic practitioners. I also have one other category. It's classified as other or unclassified. It's a category that there's probably not really a word in the English vocabulary that can really describe it, but we can test it. We can see the impact that it's making on the body, and we can now learn how to remove this trauma as well. So all these categories of trauma, there's 6 different ones. What they do is they impact you as a vibrating system. It's kind of like when you're born, Tim, you're like a grand piano. You're in perfect harmony. Somebody throws a brick in your grand piano, you're traumatized, right? You're no longer in perfect harmony, you still play. Let's just say that's a fall off your bicycle. Then you're exposed to some heavy metals, you have chemical trauma. Somebody throws some tar in your grand piano. So through a lifetime of trauma, your grand piano is no longer in perfect harmony. It still plays, but it's no longer in harmony. So what happens is these disharmonious energies in the environment, they impact your vibrating system, and they actually leave their fingerprint or their blueprint on you as a vibrating system, so they're no longer in harmony. So what we need to do is understand how can we, through quantum physics, release this trauma to reset your core vibrational blueprint to get you back resonating at that high and pure frequencies, so you're actually receiving and experiencing optimum health.
Well, that's fascinating, and I get the science, and I get that the intellectual aspect of it, but I think for a lot of people who are lost into the acute model or the acute solution of immediate physical 5-sensory experience of change, may have a hard time digesting that, only because, one, it's invisible, and two, really the best way to measure it is how your state of being after the fact. My performance is much faster. My thinking, I'm not so cloudy. I mean, that's measurable circumstantial evidence that you could say, well, A plus B equals C, right? You could tie that together, but it's just not so clean and clear as what we see in our typical allopathic model, which unfortunately perhaps holds people back from truly embracing some of what you just said, because what you said is just it's life changing. I mean, you're talking about addressing once and for all our electromagnetic cells with technology and also emotional release that could shift and change anything that you experience of many of these stresses that you mentioned.
Absolutely. And then you have to understand what these stressors do is they cause inflammation in the body. Everything I just named, those 6 categories cause inflammation. 7 out of 10 deaths is due to chronic illness, okay? And it's a lifestyle disease. That's cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes. That comes from inflammation, from environmental factors. What they're finding now, Tim, is that 90% of death is related to mitochondrial dysfunction or lack of energy in the cell. Cellular energy is dysfunctional. And this trauma causes oxidative stress. It causes inflammation, cell damage that leads to, to those chronic illnesses. So we have to understand is, can we remove or release this past trauma, reset your core vibrational blueprint? Then, Tim, can we actually educate you to really maybe start removing some of this hidden kryptonite out of your environment? That's, if you want to be Superman, you don't want to have kryptonite in your environment. So we want to help you get educated how to remove some of this kryptonite and these stressors and these inflammatory agents out of your environment to help you keep resonating at that higher level and performing optimally.
No, that's a great analogy, Kryptonite, because the mitochondria, as you just said, is basically our energy source. As you heard, sure everyone heard ATP is the energy, right? So the mitochondria, I think, doesn't have a lot of exploration on it. I mean, some people know what it does. And there's questions on what it doesn't do or whatever, and there's some different, perspectives on it. But bottom line is, we do know that it's the electromagnetic energies. It does affect our mitochondria to whatever degree, as well as certain chemical responses, right?
Absolutely. This is going to blow you away. So really on a cellular level, in your DNA, science has found something called a chromatin, and a chromatin emit photons of light. Now, one photon has more information on it than all the libraries in the whole world, okay? And this is science. Now, what this light emission does, it regulates 100,000 biochemical reactions in the cell every second. Now, if that's running properly, then you actually have proper cell-to-cell communication. So the cells are communicating what's going on with each cell and other parts of the body. Then it sets up a whole light metabolism, a light network called your bio-photon field or your bio-light field that regulates all your metabolic programs, your detox programs, your hormone programs, your methylation programs, your emotional programs. It runs all these programs. But if you're stressed and traumatized on a cellular level by any of these stressors, it causes incoherent light emissions out of these chromatin. So you have chaotic light transmissions, which disrupts your 100,000 biochemical reactions every second in the cell. It breaks down cell-to-cell communication. Your whole light metabolism goes chaotic. And now your programs aren't uploading and downloading properly. It's kind of like your computer getting froze. You can't upload or download programs. You're frozen. Your body's autonomic nervous system, which regulates everything in your entire body, basically senses this stress and goes sympathetic dominant. It goes fight or flight mode. It says, hey, listen, we got a problem here. All the blood goes to the brain. It goes to the heart. It goes to the muscles. And you're in fight mode, and you can't run your digestive programs when you're in fight mode. You can't run your metabolic programs, your hormone programs when you're in fight mode. And most people that we're finding with heart rate variability testing, checking the autonomic nervous system, are stuck in sympathetic dominant mode nowadays, and they're not regulating out of sympathetic into parasympathetic. And so what we've been seeing with the pendant, with heart rate variability and with the bio-well testing, after we release these deep-rooted trauma energetically, we're seeing a major shift from that sympathetic fight-or-flight mode, I'm under stress, into parasympathetic mode, where you're now parasympathetic is healing, resting, regenerating, and recovering. And so this is the major shift, and most people are stuck in that stressed sympathetic dominant mode with high cortisol levels, high blood pressure,
adrenaline,
heart rate, can't sleep, those type of things, inflamed, right? So this is kind of where we're seeing the average American nowadays.
Thank you, media and entertainment field, and the adrenaline. You're right. We are stuck, and we're stuck in this sympathetic nervous system, constantly stressing the body. Which only, I mean, you just listed before a whole list of different stressors. It almost seems, Robert, that it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to the body that it has no choice but to express itself through this inflammation and then all these chronic diseases, as you mentioned earlier, cancer. It has no other way to go unless there's some type of intervention, as you're talking about, not only with technology, but also with the emotional release. It seems like the emotional release comes first, and then when not dealt with, it then manifests into a physical ailment. So, I think that, would you also attest, like most docs do, and most integrated docs do, would you attest that all physical ailments start out from an emotional repression of whatever you experienced?
Wow, it could be a number of different stressors. It's kind of like stacking plates. You have the core root genesis problem, that imbalance that leads to another. So when I look at Lyme disease or in the co-infections or mold or emotional trauma, I'm looking at symptoms of a deeper underlying problem that is causing a cascade of problems that's not allowing your body. It's actually creating a terrain that these microorganisms can manifest and thrive in. So if we can go back to that core root issue, that initial trauma that caused that cascade of problems throughout your entire bio-photon field and your autonomic nervous system, we can get to that root one, remove that. The body then can actually correct all these other issues, including if we change the terrain for cancer and for infections. Basically, the terrain's gone. Guess what? The cancer and the infections have no place to go. So energetically, they're gone as well. So go ahead. We've seen that as well. Go ahead.
No, it makes complete sense. But these stressors, these toxin stressors. So if there's not an emotional experience going on at the moment, and there's just doubling down on chemtrails and metals in the air, or the vaccines, or increasing the cocktail of the mercury, whatever it may be, there would be a negative effect on the body. You don't need the emotional aspect just to increase the negative effect on the body, unless, though, the power of intention, I would say, because there are people who can shift this. I mean, you hear the different gurus who eat poison, who have other ways to process this through the thoughts and the power of thought. And, and thought affects our biochemical neuropeptides, affects our emotions. I mean, we're now getting into this Dr. Bruce Lipton area too, of the power of intention, how when we are in the parasympathetic nervous system mode, we are able to create brand new DNA never seen before to deal with these new additional toxins that are being introduced to our environment every day. So it seems like there's a balance there that, and it's a combination between your intention, your thought, your belief, your state of being, your process, your body, how it processes these stressors, technology. I mean, it seems like there's a magical right in this fence here. I mean, is there a magic potion here? Is there a combination of them, or is it just, you just got to test it out? Each individual has to try it out on their own, of all different types of permutations and combinations of these, these chronic solutions,
It sounds like it's real complicated, but it's really not. Okay, first of all, stressors. It's not death by one cut, Tim. It's death by 1,000 cuts. So a little bit of EMF, a little bit of food sensitivities, a little bit of low-level chronic infection, a little bit of emotional trauma, a little bit of structural trauma, a car accident, all that trauma is a death by 1,000 cuts. Maybe chemical trauma, the detergent you're using, or your skincare. So basically, what we want to do is release this trauma, reset your core vibrational blueprint, get that in harmony. Now, what's amazing, once you clear this terrain out and you get this garbage out, it's amazing when the bio-photon field and the body's resonating where it should be, the light metabolism is working where it should be, it can actually take on these stressors and process them. Okay, metabolize them and pretty much do what they need to do with them. And once you get some of this past trauma out of the way, now once we get this past trauma released, we reset your core vibrational blueprint. Your body actually, your bio-photon field, your light metabolism, it's almost like a powerful force field. You're resonating at a very high level. These stressors don't have nearly the impact on you that they would, or even enough to kick you into sympathetic dominant mode. Your body can take them in. Okay, a little bit of stressor here, parasympathetic. I can heal, regenerate, recover, boom. I'm back to 100% much more quickly, where I'm not getting stuck and those stressors get roots in me and start growing roots that cause a cascade of other problems. Once we get that out of the way, next step then is really getting great, breathing good air. A lot of make sure that your home doesn't have mold. The work that you're at doesn't have mold. Make sure you're drinking pure water. You're getting good food, in the system, good supplements, and everybody's their biochemistry is different, Tim. So I'm really big on understanding the importance of removing food sensitivities, food allergies, those kind of things as well. So, removing that kryptonite on a daily basis too, to really help to perform optimally. Kind of two big steps there.
Yeah, no, that's great information, and it's a daily process, and I love the fact that you address it's a death by 1,000 cuts more so than one big cut, and that's why acute solutions does not work with chronic illnesses. You need chronic solutions. Even and that's where a lot of people like this immediate gratification from the American culture. I have to see an impact immediately. I take a pill, my problem should go away, rather than realizing that this chronic illness, cancer, MS, whatever it was built up over a period of time, and that the solution has to be built up and deal with this over a period of time. You're not going to see the immediate change. Right. Like, I've had this pendant here, my brother sent it to me. I really don't know what it actually does, but I think it's cool looking, right? And
It is nice.
Right. But
Yeah.
it's supposed to do something with EMFs. But what you talked about when we get back from break, what you talked about was basically alchemical or transmuting certain type of negative EM energies and transmuting to positive energy. And that to me is, Merlin like. Come on, now we got to get into how that actually works in your pendant, and let's get into the science of that when we get back from break, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, Tim.
All right, we'll be right back. Wow, this is great information. Robert Marking, he's a nutritionalist, consultant, working with energy medicine. You can reach him at, let's see here, the
Pure Harmony.
PureHarmonyLiving.com. PureHarmonyLiving.com. Check him out. We'll be right back. All right, we are back with Robert Marking. He's a nutritionalist, consultant, basically an energy healer. That's what it comes down to. He's an energy healer, and I'm sure he believes other people could be energy healers too. You can reach him at PureHarmonyLiving.com. This is one of his products that he sells. It's called the Pure Harmony Pendant. And we're going to get into that right now, the science behind that. So I don't know where you start. I mean, I get the point, and because we played a little clip in the beginning. I don't know if you heard it, but it was you talking about you got two tuning forks, and one's tuned to a certain vibration, and you activate one of the other one, and then it amplifies this higher frequency or this higher vibration. So all these other lower vibrational, let's say, stressors, somehow just fall away. They disappear. They transmute. What happens to them?
Yeah, well, through harmonic resonance, a great description. If you basically have everything in the universe has a resonance frequency, so it has its own vibrational blueprint. If you can have bring into the vicinity of two frequencies of the same, like two tuning forks, you strike one, the other one starts vibrating. That's called harmonic resonance. The result of harmonic resonance is always a very powerful vibration. You could put 4 grand pianos in a room. You hit a chord on one, all the same chord, and all the other 4 will start vibrating. Harmonic resonance. So if we can actually find something like a tuning fork that we can bring into our body, to our biofield, that can resonate at the same core vibrational blueprint as we are, we can amplify that core vibrational blueprint back to its natural setting, blueprint, I should say.
High level vibration.
All vibrating systems that have impacted you, traumatized you, will be released at that time. Go ahead.
High level vibration. So it's almost like an amplifier, because if our stressors are bringing down our vibration or whatever our hertz are at,
right.
This pendant you're saying can help, like a tuning fork, amplify you back to your higher vibrational natural state of being. You're saying, right?
Absolutely. And there's 8 holes in the pendant, and people heard of chakras, and they've heard of meridians and chi energy and prana, and there's probably 3-4 million different energetic pathways. And what happens, we get so stuck in the box looking at just this area of the chakras and meridians, the chi energy. And what I've discovered is there's 8 vessels that are energetic pathways that are upstream of all the others. And if we can actually channel those with the pendant, matches those perfectly on the body, and it channels those 8 energetic pathways, and in doing so, it sets off a frequency that matches your core vibrational blueprint, amplifying that. And we then basically, by amplifying that, these lower vibrating systems that have left their fingerprint or have impacted you negatively are released. 2 frequencies cannot occupy the same space. So if we can amplify your core vibrational blueprint, then these lower vibrating systems disappear. It's kind of like if somebody dropped an atomic bomb off a mile from you, the frequencies would actually occupy the space where you're at, and you would just disappear. Okay, so it's works by harmonic resonance, amplifying core vibrational blueprint, releasing the lower vibrating systems. So.
Okay, no, that's fascinating. So basically, you're saying in this metal piece with the holes, the holes are you're saying, was it created just because of the amplification of the metallic aspect of it, and the spaces of the holes resonates with whatever your EMF, your emotional, your electromagnetic frequency is, right? And it gets incorporated then and amplified we're talking electrons now. We're talking how electrons are then amplified and transmuted to where any other lower vibrational frequencies, like you said, you can't have two same frequencies occupying the same space. One interference pattern. There's going to be interference pattern when two frequencies hit each other. One's going to dominate it, and then unless there's going to be a repelling going on, right?
Yep.
So this acts as a conduit of I'm just trying to wrap my mind around how our biosphere, our electromagnetic frequency is being tuned by this little piece of metal frequency, because this has its own frequency, but based on the spaces of the holes, how big the holes are, you're saying those are in tune to our meridians, our chakra areas, uniquely.
Yeah, there's actually we heard of chakras, we know about meridians and acupuncture points, and all this stuff has been mapped out. Those are just a few of the million of them. So if you stay inside the box just with those, you're going to get well to a certain point. We got to get outside the box and find the ones that are upstream or the main vessels above all the others. And so there's 8 that are on the body. They're lined up just like what you see on the pendant on pretty much the left chest area. And I have those in a diagram I can send you. But what happens is this could be made out of plastic. It can be made out of metal. It could be made out of, the metal itself is not energized or holds any type of energy or frequency in it. It's the fact that when you put it on yourself, it channels the 8 energetic pathways, setting off a frequency that matches your core vibrational blueprint, amplifying that. And so what we've seen, and when I do autonomic response testing through Dr. Klinghardt, I'm a practitioner there. We use the autonomic nervous system, the feedback from the autonomic nervous system, to see the shift, the changes going on in the body. We can detect these stressors, these imbalances. Then we can find basically what the remedy is, and we can release these stressors. We can see that shift or change in the autonomic nervous system, going from sympathetic dominant to parasympathetic, and regulating properly. But we've also measured it through HRV testing, seeing that shift after somebody's harmonized, but also with the bio-well testing, which really we see corrective shifts in the chakras within just a few minutes after harmonizing. So we're quantifying it more than just muscle testing. We're seeing these shifts in the heart rate variability in the autonomic nervous system, and also in the bio-well with the chakras and the meridians as well. So it's pretty cool.
No, that's fascinating, because that was my next question. How are you actually measuring this for the scientifically minded people to get behind it? Is there a place where they could see some of these results or check them out, or do you guys release them out, or are they just done on an individual level?
Yeah, well, basically what we're doing right now is we've been putting together some data right now. We've tested quite a few people before and after, even at ACIM. And what we're doing is putting together a study that we can actually show, to quantify in a study that's going to be peer reviewed. There's going to be no holes in it, to show the shifts going on.
Good.
But I also have, through Dr. Klinghardt, you've probably heard of Dr. Diedrich Klinghardt, autonomic response testing. We can use autonomic response testing and using the autonomic nervous system as well as far as feedback. So I have 2 of the top practitioners in the country, one in the Philadelphia area, really quantifying the benefits with over 100 of her patients, and she's seeing these major shifts as well as we reset the core vibrational blueprint. So we're seeing the emotional trauma releasing. What we're seeing is if we can clear out the terrain that these infections like Lyme and co-infections exist in, we're seeing within just a session that they're not testing energetically after harmonizing with the pendant for the very first time. So it's really cool, the shifts we're seeing here.
Yeah, and and in fairness to all this electromagnetic testing going on in all these less than 1% integrative doctors, they don't have a lot of money sponsoring these clinical testing too. However, it's so much going on as we speak, and there's a lot of testing and validation of these different systems in other countries. Europe and other countries are much more advanced because they've been dealing with Russia. They've been dealing with electromagnetic healing for a much longer period of time than we have here in the Western culture. It's still not even adopted in our medical model, our allopathic limited small box medical model. But I'm glad information is going to be coming out on that soon, because I think people people need to see that, and I think they'll get behind it more when that happens. But I think your best evidence really is the circumstantial evidence of after the fact of how these athletes feel and perform, how these people, I'm going to bring in a couple of minutes here one of our employees who's been working with you on this, and and she's a doubting Thomas, so her positive response has been kind of blowing my mind. But the circumstantial evidence, the state of being that your higher frequency state of being that you're created, to me would be your probably best evidence.
Right, exactly. And just seeing the shifts in yourself, and you can actually measure it through heart rate variability. You can get one of those monitors, and then basically you can start tracking your LF to IF, your sympathetic to parasympathetic balance in there. You could do that as well. But really what we're seeing is people are feeling that shift. They're feeling calmer. They feel like they're sleeping better at night. They're metabolizing food better. Athletes are recovering better. What we're seeing is people that have been on detox binders for years. If you're sympathetic dominant, you're basically not, your detox programs aren't running. So we can get you parasympathetic. Basically, you're going to start seeing your body releasing those toxins maybe for the first time ever, where we're seeing people having great detox episodes going on where you have to even increase their binders they're using for grabbing onto those toxins. But I will get on the website then. I'm putting a new website up as well this next week. And so I'll have some of this data up there, some of the bio-well testing we've seen, corrective shifts, and then also some of the heart rate variability shifts. So people can see that, with a few of the people that we work with, for sure.
Yeah, just stop watching the news, and then you'll be in parasympathetic nervous response. So exactly. I say jokingly, but I'm serious. But what I find fascinating about that too is are you guys going to be also doing double-blind experiments with placebo effect? Because I think placebo plays a big role in our chemical measurement to a degree, but not as much as we think it is. I mean, they lower the bar. We're just a little bit above the placebo effect, and let's put this drug out to market. But I assume they'll be using blind experiments with the placebo on this as well, because I think that's maybe we are all placebo. Maybe that is all. Yeah. We create our own reality, supposedly. Maybe that's all we need to do is to believe in it. We change experiments through the observer, double slit experiment, things like that. I mean, I don't know. What's your take on that? What's your take on your thoughts create your reality?
Well, it's powerful. It's a powerful part of it. So I agree with you. Having a double blind or having a type of placebo where one person would get like a pendant that would be close to the real deal, but so we actually would get that type of effect and make sure we can measure that as well. But I agree, the mind's a very powerful thing. But when you have these underlying stressors that are impacting you on a cellular level, they need to be addressed. And if not, they're addressed. You can only do mind over matter for so long. Yeah. If you have this inflammation going on and there's a real deal with toxins or low level infections or other type of trauma, they've got to be addressed. Otherwise, you're going to have some issues for sure.
Well, I have to say we need all the help we could get, Robert, because you're looking at the chemtrails aren't stopping. The glyphosate in our food's not stopping. The fluoride in our water's not stopping. In fact, they're probably doubling down as we speak. So, the state of being, I do believe the state of being, as people like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Lipton and the rest. Yes, you could raise your frequency through your cognitions because they're the most powerful thing there is, especially when tapped into spirituality as well. And Jen, come on in when you have a chance. I want to, before we go to this next break, I want to have you talk a little bit about your experience, and then after and when we get past the break, not yet, Jess, but when we get past the break, we'll talk a little bit about the role of spirituality, because I think there's an instant healing piece that a lot of people aren't addressing, or they're scared to, because it's so hard to measure in a 5-century scientific mind state, and if truly we are able to manipulate the results of an experiment through our being an observer and through our observer, and we manipulate electrons appearing and disappearing as they've seen in the experiments like double slit experiment, then what does it matter on the experiments? The bottom line is, how do you feel after the fact? and how long can you hold that state of being, right? So we have Jen here, Robert, and I know you've been working with her, I guess, over the long distance, or when you were out, Dr. Zarak?
No, over the phone.
Over the phone. And
we met there.
And share a little bit too, Robert, how you can heal people through that type of distance.
Well, the thing is I think everything's connected. The Bio-photon fills in light, and it's just a whole network. And so I just pretty much have been living in a world of frequencies since about 2001 when I first started to learn how to self-test on things in the environment. So I line everything up as harmonious for the body or disharmonious. And so then I can measure to a degree how disharmonious that is on a scale of 1 to 10 or harmonious. And so when I work with somebody, I can see if there's, even through their voice, I can pick up frequencies and then tell if there's something disharmonious that's impacting them. And then what category is it? What type of stressor is that? Then if there's that category stressor, then what is going to be the remedy to help release that stressor? So that's what happened. I started talking to Jen over the phone a little bit, and it found out there were some disharmonious things going on here that's impacting her Bio-photon field. And then basically we came up, kind of categorized that, and then I kind of got her a pendant to help release that deep-rooted trauma and stressor that was causing this cascade of problems. And that's kind of how we worked over the phone with her a little bit.
Well, Jen, tell us your experience.
Fascinating. And I call him, he's a miracle worker, is what I tell him, for me and my daughter. I don't necessarily say I was a skeptic before, but I've never experienced.
You're always a skeptic.
No, I just like to figure something out for myself, kind of like you do. I do my research, and I have to kind of see things to believe them, and with talking with Robert, he's just so fascinating to talk to. And he knows a lot about lots of different things. And my experience with him is just that I've had some physical ailments for goodness, 10, 15, 20 years.
Oh, yeah. And
over the phone, I remember telling him, I was like, do you have a camera in the phone? Because he knew exactly what to do. And one of my biggest things that I had, my pain level on like a daily basis is between a 7 and a 9, just because of neck trauma and stuff like that.
And I add to it, so she's probably at a 10 when she's around me. Yeah.
12.
A literal pain in the neck.
But no, he was able to, like, I haven't had, and you and I go to the same chiropractor, Dr. Jim, and I've been dealing with massive pain, and in a couple phone conversations, he was able to give me full function back that I haven't felt in like 10, 15 years.
Does that blow your mind? Because
it does.
Because in integrated medicine, it blows my mind too. And so those ailments that you had, from the headaches to whatever you want to else share, you feel you're not experiencing them anymore. Like, where's your pain level right now?
My pain level is definitely around like a 5, about 4.
Wow.
4 or a 5, which
wow,
on a
that's
daily
a big
basis
drop.
was at an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
But he just, I don't know. It's so hard to explain.
So Robert, what do you attribute that to? Her pain drop and 4 good points. I mean, that's a big deal.
Okay, well, there's different categories of stressors that are impacting people, and some of the deep-rooted ones are this unclassified other category. And so there's a couple doctors by the name of Dr. Beardall and Bandy in applied kinesiology. There's called clinical kinesiology. They take into account the electromagnetic parasites that are in the environment. You really can't see them, but they can attach to the body and cause a cascade of imbalances through structural, through chemical, emotional, those type of things. So what I found with Jennifer was there are a couple of sore spots that I had her point out on her body. So check out the pec here. Is it tender there? Yeah, it's there. Check out your jaw there. Is it tender there? Yeah, it's there. So I hit all these sore spots, and then I categorize that as some of this energetic imbalances that she was having. Then with a pendant, I was able to tell her where to put her on her body to help her release the deep-rooted trauma that was kind of the holes in her armor, or where she has some holes in her protective Bio-photon field that would allow these things to get in. So if we can release that deep-rooted trauma, the stressors, the holes in the armor seal up, and these imbalances resulting from that basically had to leave. And then the body resets back into harmony, back into balance. Yeah, go ahead.
Wow, you just opened up a whole can of worms there, Robert. So when we get back from our last break here, let's get into that aspect. Let's get into that unclassified aspect. You know, I'll call it spirituality, whatever you want to say. But I think this is critical because to me, this is the new science. This is where medicine's going to. I call it spiritual medicine, and I think it's fascinating. I'm glad you brought it up. We'll be right back with Robert Marking. You can reach him at pureharmonyliving.com. Pureharmonyliving.com. Fascinating. His pendants are there on sale. I'm looking forward to trying out and seeing how I feel about it too, shortly. We'll be right back. Boom. We are back. I just find this so fascinating, honestly, because
so cool.
He's not only cool, but he's fun. And where are you right now? What state?
West Palm Beach, Florida, where we're freezing down here. It's like 63 degrees out here today. So it's like we're having a cold front coming through. It's unbearable, but
it's unbearable.
We're spoiled down here. We're spoiled.
Hey, sure. Listen, I don't blame you. I love me some Florida. So, okay. Now, stay with us, all our listeners on 99.1 and all our listeners on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere else around the world, because this aspect, I spoke to so many different doctors, Dr. Cowden, Dr. Rankin. I mean, you go through the whole list of these one percenters, and they are 1%, less than 1%ers out there who are truly connected to this understanding of we are energy and energy medicine. It's almost inevitable that when I start plugging away from my little scientific brain I have, right, and it always leads me to this aspect of there's more going on in other frequencies around us than we realize. And when I say frequencies, I mean we are see, hear, own, smell only on a limited frequency band frequency. You know, that's why dogs hear differently, right? Because their frequency is much wider, or whatever it may be. So you're saying, and this, before we went on break, is that around humans there are energies, and some people may call them entities, some people may call them negative entities, some people may call them energy, negative energy, or whatever. But it's attaching to humans based on their vulnerability in reference to lower vibrational beliefs that they have stored, hoard, put somewhere in the body, whether through DNA, through whatever it may be, generational or just whatever, and that these energies, let's just say negative energies, because Dr. Karen Can talks about this all the time on her show, Jesse,
She does.
Yeah, and she calls them detachment, your detachment, to the point where I thought of the new science, spiritual medicine, going into, instead of going to a hospital, you go to a detachment center, But
about an episode of Detox to Detach.
Yeah. But this gets a little bit, unscientific. So people have to kind of realize that to a degree. However, where there is experiences, there are changes in people's circumstances, behaviors, and actions based on people like you who have a sensitivity to see, hear, smell. Do you use your five senses? Is it an omni knowing that you sense where these negative entities are located? I mean, how are you able to do? Because apparently you have developed this skill set like many of these other practitioners and doctors have, and are bringing us to this new spiritual medicine.
Well, I think my first experience was 1999, almost 20 years ago, where I was really sick. I was bedridden with chronic fatigue. I went to an applied kinesiologist that practiced clinical kinesiology through Dr. Bandine Beardall. And my liver was shut down. My kidneys weren't working. My adrenals are revving. I was sympathetic dominant. And basically what we found was one of these attachments, electromagnetic attachment. And so entity in a way, and we released that, and all of a sudden it was like I walked out of a closet. I mean, I could smell the grass, I could smell the leaves. I mean, it just amazing my sensory perception. I was at peace, and my liver turned on, my kidneys turned on, my adrenals rested, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. I felt great. And then I went back to Florida where I was living, and then all of a sudden it hit me again. But there's no practitioners. I had to fly all the way back to Dallas, Texas to get this cleared again. So that's where my frustration and my challenge started. I was already nutrition consulting, but I said, listen, this is where I started my journey to really figure out where the things come from, what kind of doorways do they use to attach to somebody, and how can we close those doorways so they can't get back to cause a cascade of problems, not only for myself, but for people out there that are falling victim to this. So I think this is one of the main root stressors that's causing the cascade of other issues, even creating the terrain for infections to manifest, so on and so forth. So this is where I've been, and really it's really has to do with and trauma and impurities also in your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your associations, doorways. And so if we can actually release this trauma and close these doorways, these things leave, and all the issues that they've caused as a result of that, whether it's structural, chemical, emotional, leave at the same time. This is how we're seeing such miraculous recovery and benefits as well. So hopefully that answers it a little bit.
It sure does. And miraculous is the right word. We just had this veterinarian healer on a little while ago, and she does acupuncture on dogs and animals.
She talked about the Christ point.
Yeah.
That was the coolest thing.
Wasn't it? She said, there was one area on there, on this, that it's a little hard. She calls it the Christ point. And I don't know if it's just specifically to dogs or whatever it may be, but
I think it was more about, it was depending on what the ailment was, this healer could pinpoint it, like, you're having problems, let's say, in your adrenal glands. We're going to put you right here. Boom. And just one acupuncture hit, and then everything was fine.
And then everything on that animal was fine. And now I think animals live more in the present moment than humans do. And we're probably a much more of a challenge to hit a Christ point or a certain, a home run point, whatever it may be. But spirituality has a play in what you're doing, I would at this point assume.
Yeah, spirituality is kind of in the box. I kind of like keep it unclassified or other, because sometimes spirituality kind of doesn't really cover the whole spectrum of what's going on here. So I'll kind of keep it but if you lack a better word, spirituality would be probably a good approach, looking at it that way. Obviously with energy healers and people that are healing people, there's also a group out there that's probably trying to oppress people and make them sick at the same time. So, you actually maybe have a little bit of a battle going on there that, in some sense of the word, some people know maybe how to direct energy at somebody to hurt somebody or oppress them, and you try to find somebody who can free from that as well. So there is a little struggle kind of going on in that realm as well. So you got to take that into consideration, when you're looking at these things.
Wow. We're coming to a close here, but, Jen, I can only imagine how many demons attached to you that you just wiped away, so.
That's not really nice to say.
I'm just kidding. No, honestly, what I'm thinking, Robert, is that we live sci-fi. This is, our world is science fiction. Whatever movies or shows or books you ever read in science fiction, it has nothing onto what reality really is about once you get past this 5th century belief system that we have, because it is a whole nother dimension out there, isn't it, Robert?
Yeah, it really is. And the thing is the spectrum of light that we can see is very small, so there's things that just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not in our environment or impacting us negatively. And so that's something that we need to take in consideration as well. But, I just think that with quantum physics and quantum biology and really understanding the role that plays in our overall health, I think people are getting a better grasp on this. But people are more sick than ever and are suffering more than ever. And so I think that this is one avenue that people that are chronically ill, like I've been, are going into and are starting to find some relief, realizing it's just more than just that bacteria that's making me sick.
Well, I'll tell you what, you hit it on the nose tonight and today, and wonderful information, Robert. And this is Robert Markin, nutritional consultant, energy healer. You can reach him at pureharmonyliving.com. Pick up these pendants. He offers so many other products and services. Check him out. He's one in a million. He's a healer, energy healer, and I wish you the best of luck. Hang on a second, too, Robert, okay, as we close out the show. But I want to thank you guys for listening again. You can catch him at pureharmonyliving.com. What amazing information, huh? And Jennifer, what amazing person for you to be healed like this. Amazing. All right, guys, thank you for listening. We will see you Wednesday. Today's Tuesday, right?
Yeah, we'll see you later today for the manifesting
hour.
hour.
We'll see you later today for the manifesting hour. All right, very good. Bye-bye.